As the Senate vote on health care nears, some states are saying not so fast, questioning whether this bill is even constitutional. Joining us now with more, Chris Frey's health care reporter with Politico, Miguel Perez, syndicated columnist and CNN contributor, and Hank Scheinkoff, Democratic strategist and also a CNN contributor. Gentlemen, good to have all of you with us. Chris, I want to start with you because you've spent a lot of time there on the Senate floor, as I understand it, over this past week, which has been a very busy week. We know pretty much this is set to pass 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. They just need a simple majority, 51 votes. What are some of the things, though, that have really stuck out to you, especially in this day where there were 7 different votes?
Well, I think, Erica, you're exactly right that this bill is on its way to passage. It's going to be a historic vote for Democrats. This is the first time that they've ever passed through the Senate and the House any kind of sweeping health care reform legislation. And what really stuck out was the rancor that remained. Republicans were dug into their positions. The Democrats dug into theirs. It was trench warfare. It necessitated the first vote to get this bill to the place where it will be tomorrow morning for a final vote. Took place at 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So we were there all evening watching this vote to see if Harry Reid had the 60 votes he needed to end the debate on the bill. And there were a number of other procedural votes that they had to take throughout the week just to get to where they are today. So the big question in the last few days was the vote had originally been scheduled for 7 o'clock or later on Christmas Eve. And there was a big question, well, we know this bill will probably pass. Are the Republicans and Democrats going to come to an agreement where they can let folks go home for the holiday? They did decide to at least move it up till 7 o'clock in the morning so folks can get home for Christmas Eve. Right,
but not any earlier, despite some attempts there. One thing that came up and was getting a lot of attention, Miguel, I'll start with you on this, is this charge that the idea of making Americans either buy insurance, and if not, they would face a penalty, actually violates part of the Constitution. I believe that the Fifth Amendment in particular is what they're talking about here. My question to you, though, is if that violates it, because I think it reads that you can't take private property, it shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. So this is the thinking here, it may be unconstitutional. Could you then say the same thing about mandating that people buy car insurance?
Absolutely, and the thing is, why did they wait this long to complain about unconstitutionality of this bill? I mean, if they had a problem with it, they should have raised this problem earlier. Obviously, this is a last-minute effort to block this thing. I don't think it's going to be successful.
So you're saying
tomorrow.
Not a very effective last-minute effort?
Not at all.
Hank, when you look at what's been done, obviously we've talked so much about how partisan this process has been, and especially for a major piece of social legislation. You've never really seen such partisan division like this. Heading forward, what do the Democrats need to do as they try to marry these two bills to perhaps win over a vote or two in either the House or the Senate?
They've got to somehow come up with a compromise that makes the Republicans feel they're not being pushed into a situation where they won't win at home. The real issue for Republicans is, does it appear that they're giving up too much to sections of the country? Are they not getting enough for their home districts? If that's the case, their home states, they're going to have a problem getting that done. A different issue. And more importantly, the Democrats have to pray that the Republicans en masse complain sufficiently about this legislation till the end and afterward, because that will give them the howling argument they need to get reelected next year.
Although the other side could say the same thing, that this is actually going to give them the howling argument as well, Chris, because both sides are going to play this obviously to their advantage. Republicans saying, look at this, huge albatross that we've been dealt, and Democrats saying this is going to be the greatest piece of legislation you've ever seen.
Absolutely, Erica. And when this bill passes tomorrow and after the House and the Senate reconcile the two and get it to the president's desk, that's when the war of public opinion will begin. And that's why Democrats are trying to move this as quickly as possible. They want as much time. They wanted more than a year to sell this to the American people. They're going to get less than that if they pass it in January or February. But they're already talking about, well, once people know what's in the bill, once we can educate them about why this is good for them, you'll start to see these poll numbers move a little bit. And Republicans likewise say, no way. They hate the bill now. Public opinion has been against this bill. And as when we explain it to them, they're not going to like it. So look for health care to play a huge role in the 2010 elections, as members have to go home to their districts and their states, defend what they did, defend the votes that they made, and both sides are going to make this a major, major issue. And it's part of the reason Democrats tried to front load more of the provisions to take effect immediately. Things like the Medicare drug gap benefit, filling that for seniors. There were a number of provisions that they tried to make take effect immediately, so they have something to show right away out of the gate that this is why it's good for you.
Look, Erica, I think the problem here is the reconciliation. We're skipping over the fact that these people need to concede a lot. They need to give up a lot. The House and the Senate bill are completely different in so many ways. This reconciliation is going to be angering the American people, because we still don't know all the details of what just happened in the Senate. All of this stuff is going to be coming out now, slowly but surely, and it's going to anger the American people even more, because they are going to, all of us are going to find things that we disagree with. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for health care reform. It's just that the way they're going about it.
It's that sausage-making process we hear so much about.
The buying of votes that has been going on in the last few days.
But that's not new, and we should point out.
Yeah, but it's happening under a president who said this would not happen.
Yeah, but this is nothing new. And next year, people won't be thinking about the buying of votes so much as what it's going to mean for them long term. And he with the biggest voice, he or she with the biggest voice and the most amount of firepower, gross rating points on television, will decide the outcome of those congressional elections.
Well, we'll see. We can tell you. We already know from some of our congressional staffers that while House Democrats may have left for vacation, there was a conference call this afternoon. So they are already huddling the wagons, trying to figure out what to do, putting together a list of the comparisons of the two. I do just want to throw this out there. A new CNN opinion research poll looking at which leaders in Congress are moving the country in the right direction in terms of their policies. Democratic leaders getting a slight edge, 51%, to Republican policies at this point. It'd be interesting to see how those numbers change as people do learn more about all of this, and we'll continue to talk about it with you in the new year. And maybe next week, because 2009 is not over yet. We're not quite done with health care, even if they're going home for the holidays. Hank Steinkoff, Miguel Perez, Chris Freites, good to have all of you with us. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.